Question 7. Call on the Honourable Member for Douglas Central, Mr Thomas.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. What gas consumer regulation will be in place after the termination of the 2015 gas regulatory agreement? And if the Minister for Policy and Reform will make a statement about the protection afforded in each Manx Gas customer contract and arising from the 2015 gas regulatory agreement after termination.
On the Minister for Policy and Reform to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I do feel a little like I'm haunted by Banco's ghosts with questions like this from my predecessor, which has been so intrinsically linked with the work done since 2019 on negotiating a new regulatory agreement with Manx Gas, who probably knows more detail than my key officers. Turning now to the question, now that notice of termination has been given on the 2015 gas regulatory agreement, which ceases on the 31st of December, the Office of Fair Trading may carry out an investigation into gas prices under the Fair Trading Act. The Office of Fair Trading has supplied me with a copy of the Manx Gas customer contract, which I can supply to honourable members. Section 3 of the Standard Terms and Conditions covers a consumer's right to cancel their contract. However, I did advise in another place that I am pushing hard to bring legislation into the branches to enable statutory regulation to the branches as soon as I'm able. Will this be in place for the 1st of January? Well, I've received a clear message from this House about the need to make a clear and resounding case to seek to suspend standing orders in order to accelerate any readings. However, I am committed to moving this statutory regulation on as quickly as possible. Honourable members will have also received last week a copy of the Heads of Terms agreement for voluntary regulation regime, which, if approved by Timor, would come into effect from the 1st of January 2021. Mr Speaker, Council Ministers is committed to ensuring that gas customers have robust protection future. Whether that's by a voluntary regime or a statutory regime will ultimately be a decision for honourable members.
Supplementary question, Mr Thomas.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I appreciate the compliment from the Minister, and I also welcome and congratulate the Minister on the successful negotiations, it seems, and also for his commitment in respect of statutory regulation. Given that the only obligations which OFT has are the ones he referenced in the gas regulation agreement, does the Minister agree that the gas consumer has and has always had all the consumer rights under other parts of the legislation, the Fair Trading Act, the Consumer Protection Act and other legislation which the champion of consumer rights, the Office of Fair Trading, has available to it? Furthermore, does the Minister agree that the fact that Manx Gas has its gas distribution network pursuant to its duty as a public gas supplier under Section 1 of the Gas Regulation Act 1995 mean that all the rights and obligations arising from this 1995 Act and the gas regulations made under it, as well as the Public Gas Supply Code made in it, and Manx Gas's customer contract documents, whether they're referencing that legislation or otherwise, are and have always been in place, for instance, in support of things like regulating for consumers false statements, tariffs, quality and charging?
Minister to reply.
Thank you. There's quite a lot in that supplementary question. That's my understanding, but I'll come back to members to clarify.
Further supplementary, Mr Thomas.
Thank you. And I appreciate that. It's really, really helpful, and I'm pleased to work with the officers in terms of that answer. Does the Minister agree that the survival clause of the gas regulatory agreement, clause 16, means that inter alia, clause 8, the change post-procedure clause, survives termination of the gas agreement so that the agreement can be changed? Furthermore, does the Minister agree that under Schedule 4 of the 2015 gas regulatory agreement, any over-recovery which results in a regulatory adjustment should be repaid to customers equally over the following 3 years by adjusting the standing charges by the variance, with this variance allocated across Manx Gas's customer base, even though the 2015 agreement has been terminated?
Minister to reply.
Thank you. You're going to a little bit of a technical question. You've used the word over recovery. It could be an under recovery. So, and obviously I'll come back to the member with detail on that.